welcome to the FPLUSA Press Play Podcast. We're into the final week of preseason here, so it is fully time officially lock in for the FPL season ahead. To honor said occasion, we have all three hosts tuning in and ready to drop some knowledge on our listeners from the hashtag FPL community. Hi everyone, I am Bucks. I'm joined by my co-host Brian, and we are both thrilled to have back Dan, aka FPL_Black Wolf. He's in improving health. He's the #1 Wolves fan in the USA, if not the world. And we are so thrilled to have him back joining us to complete our three-legged stool here. Brian, Dan, how the fucking hell are you guys?
It warms my heart to see Mr. FPL Black Wolf himself back on the pod, smiling, his bald head shining. Oh, great to see you, Dan. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I am so glad to be back. I had a really nice break, took care of my mental and physical health a little bit.
Cheers to that.
I'm feeling a lot better these days. Now I'm just in maintenance mode, so I'm happy to be back. I'm ready for the new season. I've missed podding with you guys, so I'm excited.
So much
Dan, the listeners have definitely missed you, so give us your kind of 1 or 2 cents on the preseason so far. Drop in some Wolves takes, some general Premier League takes. We're just going to give you a couple seconds to kind of go on your soapbox here.
Yeah, it's been kind of a mad preseason. There's been so many transfers. Teams all in the Premier League swapping players. There's been crazy results in preseason. I don't want to talk about my team. They've had a shitty preseason, so we'll talk about that later.
Fair.
As far as FPL, I actually love all of the new rules. I don't mind them one bit. I think it was getting a little bit stale. So the fact they've added all these new chips, these new routes to points, I think it's only a good thing. And I think the people that are unhappy about it are the really strategic managers who are, obsessed with FPL, who have their own set ways and who don't like change. I'm ready for something new.
Booyah. Brian, anything you want to add before we dive head, shoulders, knees, and toes straight into the deep end here?
Before we started, Dan and I were just talking about how just chaotic and anxiety ridden the last week of the FPL summer is, and you're just consuming all the content, trying to understand who is going to be moving teams. We're getting all these last minute signings. The window is freaking open till game week 3. Like, that's a massive pain in the ass, and we're trying to project X mins for players. There's so much to consume this last week before we go into the Friday deadline, which I keep forgetting. I got to block off my calendar for an hour so I can watch the majority of the second half of this Liverpool and Bournemouth match. I need to do that ASAP, but I'm stoked and really keen to hear, obviously, a few takes from Dan in terms of the Wolves assets that I've tinkered with in my team. Kind of crazily enough, even though they've had such a bad preseason. But I'm looking forward to that. And then overall, obviously, the rule changes. I'm just trying to weigh out in my drafts how I handle DEF CON versus X Fun, and trying to have a balance of both in my defense is where I'm at right now. But it's just I'm trying to spike those 15 pointers, but at the same time, 5s and 6s add up over the course of 6 weeks. So it's going to be really interesting to see how repeatable these DEF CON actions are. And I think coming out of the Community Shield, especially when we were thinking that, okay, this is probably a DEF CON game for all of the Crystal Palace lads, none of them came close in a game where you thought that there might be a lot of clearances, blocks, recoveries, etc. Zero. Nobody got it from either team. And so I'm kind of curious to see how that plays out and how we just forecast that and try and guess and predict when that's going to happen to really align our benches versus our starters. So lots of things up in the air. I'm looking forward to the sample size of the first 6 game weeks to really take stock of the new rules.
Awesome. True professionals, the three of us are. Dan, I think big consensus and the energy we want to just put out is how much we're grateful and we love having you back on the podcast. I'm sure our listeners will echo that sentiment. And also just word to the wise, because the FPL game, like Brian just mentioned, starts on Friday with some bonus pre-weekend fixtures with Liverpool hosting Bournemouth. That means, at least where I'm standing here on the Eastern Standard Time, the deadline will be at 1:30 in the afternoon. That means for my two co-hosts on the West Coast, they will be locking their teams in official at 11:30 in the morning West Coast time.
10:30.
10:30.
And Jesus, that's like you might even not finish your morning coffee at that point.
And
that's
a word
stressful.
of warning, like I went on the app today and it's down. It's been down half of the day, so make sure you lock your teams in really early, because I have a sneaky feeling
I think
Friday's going
the
to be
lineup
chaos.
leaks. We might have solved that problem by accident here with the full website redesign and the app redesign, because it's crashing, more than 72 hours out from the deadline. So God help us what it's going to look like, within 30 minutes of that final kind of lock screen going live. I'm panicked for that, just for some of our lads and listeners abroad.
Oh, it's going to be chaotic for sure. I think, I'm trying to get all my prize and money leagues sorted and making sure I got my teams and my lineups and all the last minute ads. And it's going to be a little stressful, to say the least. But
game week is the time you really don't want to fuck up your squad. You don't want to have like a auto select squad going into game week 1. You've already screwed your season up. If you miss a deadline once during the season, it's no big deal. But game week 1, you really want to set your team up early.
You'd say it's the most important deadline.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think with that, let's just quickly mention our free-to-enter podcast mini league, the Press Play Palooza, and we want you to get involved. The code to enter will be on screen throughout this YouTube video that we're going to post. But just for any podcast listeners out there, lowercase p, lowercase e, lowercase l, 04. So PEL04 is the code that you want to enter. Get involved with us along the course of the season. We'll be doing weekly shout outs on each and every game week preview episode to the high scorer. There will be cash prizes for the cup winners. And there will also be kits from next season's Premier League of your choosing going out to the top 3 managers for overall finish. So we're thrilled to be breaking
the news to Dan that we're somehow coming up with some extra scratch out of his pockets. He hasn't been on it in a month, and you're like, all right, taking money out of his pockets.
Yeah, what the hell?
Sorry, buddy. It's coming out of my kid's college fund, so it can't be that rough for you.
Yeah, we're excited to have everybody in that league. I think we'll be hopefully close to 500 or 1,000 people by the time all is said and done. So please make sure to tag a friend and join that league for your chance at prizes.
All right, without further ado, let's break out our team sheets for game week 1. Now, we should just give a quick caveat and disclaimer here. I don't think the 3 of us are locked. I'm speaking for myself. Are you, Dan? Brian?
No, I'm nowhere near locked.
Okay, so this is going to be leaning into the chaos in a major way here on this episode, but I think this is at least where we are kind of setting up with 3 days to go. Of course, there will be the Super Cup final, which will have Spurs playing PSG tomorrow on Wednesday when this drops and goes live. That will probably give us some insight on at least Spurs and how they might compare to top competition. And then we want to have the manager press conferences, which will drop on Thursday and Friday. So still a lot to be learned here, but I think this is a good starting point to see the players that are kind of popular and the ones that we're at least gravitating to. Cool?
Sounds great.
Sounds good.
Also very excited to dive into some of the hashtag FPL community teams. Thanks so much for engaging with us on social and sliding into our DMs so we can give some hot takes on some of the teams that we're seeing across our tight community. So thanks again, and continue to engage with us across the entire season. Each of our game week previews will have a hashtag FPL community questions theme at the end of the pod where we'll dive in, and I'll give good advice and Bucks will give shitty advice, and you'll have to choose one of those. And when Black Wolf comes on, he'll give the best advice.
Of course, hindsight's only 20/20 for the near term results.
That's right. That's right. So, Buck, should we start with your team? I feel like you're feeling much more locked and loaded. I know you've had a few late nights up with the little one. You've been tinkering away. So I feel like we should dive into your team first.
All right, I'm happy to get us started here. Now, I should say I'm pretty locked in about 7 or 8 spots in my team. Um, Now, it just came up on screen, so you'll all be looking at it. The biggest issue I have with this team is actually that I'm not using the full 100 million. And I feel like that's causing some undue stress right now as I look at the transfer page and I'm like, how can I swap this out to use the full budget that we're allotted? Right now, I have a full million in the bank, which definitely does not feel good
Yeah, what
going
is this?
into
What is
game
this?
week one.
Amateur hour, Bucks? Get your life together. Spend that
Well,
money,
listen, this
baby.
is what
Spend it.
happens. This is what happens when you're up at 3 a.m. doing bottle feeds and you have access to the FPL app. It should lock permanently for me. Maybe I'll have to create an app to do that for my own. Now, in goal, I have the kind of template pick. I have Sanchez and Dubravka. I am not a manager who's going to be rotating goalies. Sanchez will just be my guy until I wild card. I like the Chelsea defense. I am tempted to find a way to get Cucurella, but he's just a little too rich for my team structure right now. So in defense, game week one, I'm going to be starting DEFCON Monsters, Tarkowski, and Nico Williams. Tarkowski, I think he reached the DEFCON 2 bonus points in under 70 minutes in their last preseason match for Everton.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I think he's going to be getting 2 extra points pretty much like 25, maybe 30 out of the 38
he's just
game
a
weeks.
clearance machine. He just boots that shit to the high heavens whenever it comes in and keeps it away from Pickford. So I can't hate on the choice. I think
he's actually underpriced at 5.5 million. Then I have Nico Williams. He's my Nottingham Forest defender of choice. I have been tinkering with having double Forest defense, but that didn't make the cut for this draft. And then I've gone with VDV from Spurs. I've also tinkered with having Romero and Pedro Porro in this spot. But because I will likely be rotating this spot pretty heavily, I just find that, the value of a 4.5 million defense, Spurs were actually a good defense through the first 10 game weeks of last season before the injuries started hitting in a major way.
Around good.
They were, in fact, they were top 4 in XG and top 4 in the league from defense with Romero and VDV fit to start last season. And that was even with Ange Postecoglou, who, despite my misgivings on the timing of his firing, I can admit Thomas Frank is just a much better manager than Ange is. So I think Tottenham defense will have good value and good fixtures to start the season. So I'm opting for a 3-5-2, excuse me. So those will be kind of my each and every game week defenders. I've also gone with Gay. I expect he's going to land at Liverpool. So that will give me a 4.5 million piece of what I think could be the best, if not the second best defense in the league. And I have Estevie. I might play him in game week 2. That's kind of the only reason I have him in my team. Going into midfield.
Interesting. Hold on. I want to roast your back line first before we get into the mids.
I love it.
We were waiting for this.
Cook me. Get the nice meat fat off the bone.
Yeah, you got a lot of it here. We need to shiv off some of this fat here. I mean, the VDV pick is like, I just think it's terrible. I think it's, quite frankly, you're going after a player who, like Reece James, has glass hamstrings, and he can run really fast up and down the pitch, but that's not getting you any C-bit. That's not getting you any attacking returns. He's terrible in the air. They're going to be playing twice a week. And so I guess unless you're on a game week 6 wildcard strategy, I hate the pick. I think he's garbage. He's not a player who's going to be.
The fixtures are just excellent. So I'm playing the fixtures there. And actually, I think when you come down to it, he had a couple of assists. Like I said, I think he's right now more of a placeholder. I love the Spurs opening fixtures. I wish there was a way that we knew Solanke would be fit because he would be in my team as well. Because I just think the Spurs fixtures to start the season they're nearly as good as Chelsea's outside of that Manchester City game in game week 2. And I'm going to bench him for that match. So yeah, I know we were talking before the pod, maybe that's just Porro. He becomes Porro or Romero and it doesn't look as glaring.
Yeah, I think the people who are picking Van de Ven are doing it if they're rotating with another defender. You're not intending to play this guy every week. Otherwise, you would just go with Pedro Porro, who's clearly the better option for multiple reasons. But
if you have $1 million in your bank, I would definitely be upgrading Van de Ven. And then
another option.
Oh, go
Another,
ahead.
just one sec. Another option you had, Bucks, is you said how much you wanted Cucurella and you have 1 million in your bank. You could always do the Forest goalkeeper and then do Cucurella instead of Nico Williams.
Yep.
That's true. I actually think Nico Williams is mispriced. So the reason I have a lot of these defenders is I actually think that they're underpriced. I think Gahey, especially once he lands at Liverpool, he really should be 5, if not 5.5. And Nico Williams, there's not all that much between him, Murillo, and Milenkovic. And I just think that he's been playing excellent in preseason. So at 5 million, it's a gift from the heavens.
The thing
Cucurella,
about Nico Williams, though, is that they're now going to be in Europe, of course.
yeah, of
So
course.
they're going to be playing a lot more games. And I know Forest have also been looking at the likes of Simicas to bring in. So I think at some point
Color
he's
me
going to
not
be
worried
rotated.
about that. Simicas, he's Greek, he stinks.
But
I'm
my point
to
is
it.
that they're clearly looking at other wing backs for rotation purposes. I don't
Yeah,
think
that's
it's
fair.
a concern early on, but I think eventually it might be.
Yeah, I actually like that idea. Maybe switching Sanchez to Sells and Nico Williams to Cucurella. I have been on Sanchez pretty much since my first draft. I think he's the best value at 5 million. So
yeah,
again,
I just don't believe in the Gahey pick either. Like maybe after the first wild card, I
Dan
just
had a
don't
great
understand.
point,
Like if
right?
you have
Like,
two
I could
players
get
that
to him.
you can't count on,
I could get to him easy.
I just don't think you can count on Gahey to be everyday starter to start the season through the first 6+ game weeks, and then you have Van de Ven, who I don't think is worth it either. So I think you need to shore up one of those two positions in a really bad way.
Okay, noted. And I have 1 million in the bank to do so, which again gives me a little bit of flexibility. In my midfield,
I'm done roasting your back line.
No,
Let's
I like
head to
it.
the midfielders because
Constructive
the midfielders
criticism.
look sexy.
Yeah, constructive criticism. Midfield, I'm relatively chalk here. I have Salah and Palmer. I think those are among the two highest owned players in the entire FPL game. Definitely the two highest owned midfielders. Right now, I'm on Verts. I'm not sold on that position. I've had Bruno there. I've had Marmoush there. I took Marmoush out, actually, because I was really impressed watching this Reindeers guy. I think he's going to be playing a lot of the 10, and he's going to be playing a lot of minutes, considering the fact that, Gundogan and Rodri and some of the other City guys are now either past their prime or injured. So I think that's a great
pick. I want to
pick.
nominate us calling him Tijuana Reindeer.
Yeah, I like
you go
that.
south of the border and, shit gets fucked up and you could come out of the other end with a ton of points and glory. So Tijuana Reindeer.
I've just been calling him Rudolph.
Yeah, Rudolph is good also. And then Ndiaye kind of picks himself. I feel like Everton are going to be one of the surprise teams of this Premier League season. The options around him are getting better, and he still has penalties, and he's still what I think is a great value pick at 6.5 million. So
yeah,
I've
seen a lot around the community, people worried about Ndiaye's minutes. But then if you talk to Everton fans, they're like, this doesn't affect his minutes whatsoever. He's our most nailed player. If anything, he's a better pick now with the better players around him.
Any rumors about him leaving? I thought there were some Italian Serie A teams sniffing around.
Inter Milan have been looking, but it seems like pretty consensus what I'm hearing from Everton fans is that he's their talisman and he's not going anywhere. And I think they recently bought him, so it doesn't really make sense that they would sell him so quickly. And, the Grealish news, I think Grealish is a player that could earn a lot of penalties if he gets back into anywhere close to his Villa form. And that's only going to be good for Ndiaye. I'm a big KDH fan. I think that was a great move for them. They're going to have this Barry guy who's leading the line from Villarreal. I just think their attack is going to be strengthened, and the opening fixtures are just screaming for Ndiaye to land on points. So I rate the guy. I think he's a really excellent pick, and the fact that more managers are going Sarr and Anderson as their fifth mid kind of makes me excited to have kind of Ndiaye and Reindeers kind of feeling like my two differentials there.
Okay, let's move to the front line. You actually have some money in your forward line.
Yeah, front line's pretty chalk. Watkins alongside João Pedro. I like João Pedro. I saw him at the Club World Cup, was instantly a big fan. And of course, I'm a huge Chelsea supporter. So I was always going to have a triple up on them to start the season with their opening incredible fixture run. And Ollie Watkins, Also, player that has been in every single one of my drafts.
The
I think,
junkyard dog is
yeah,
back.
we labeled him
picking
as
up the
such on an
scraps.
early podcast. I expect he's going to have penalties. I expect he's going to be much closer to the 90-minute man that he was in seasons past. And I actually think that the Villa attack will look a lot stronger by game week 3 than it does going into the season for game week 1. I expect they're still up to something there. So that's my starting 11. Again, probably the most work needs to be done in defense. And kind of some strategies I'm thinking is maybe bumping Wirtz up to Bruno for 0.5 million and say, bumping Van de Ven or Gahey, like you both hate on those two picks, to a 5 million and a different 4.5. So those are all things I'm considering.
You and I have very, very similar drafts. So this is going to be a really good segue into my team because I have very similar thoughts to you.
Nice. Before we do that, I want to ask Bucks about his thoughts on when he will bench boost, because he's got a pretty thin bench, but very much cheap guys. So do you have any plans for game week 2, for example, when the Burnley lads of Dubravka and Mr. Steve are going to be facing, I believe, Sunderland?
No, I'm on a use the chips around AFCON strategy. So right now, the way that I at least set up was thinking that I won't be clutching my pearls regarding transfers, but my hope is to get to game week 12 and use the wild card going into 13, which is when there's a big fixture swing for Man City and for Liverpool. And then I'll also be selling Salah when he goes to AFCON. So I'll be able to bolster my team and bench boost around that time period. So that's kind of my thinking there. Free hit and triple captain, I'm just going to wait till there's a fixture that I feel good about once we know enough about where the league is headed. So,
yep. And, there will be a spot when your whole team is just in walking boots and crutches and you're being
of course.
It's good to have this extra free hit in my side so I can get out of jail free type of card. So,
I've seen a lot of managers talking about free hit 3 or bench boost 2. I just think we're not going to know jack shit at that point in the season. And, if you're picking guys like Gui or Dubravka, I kind of want to see them bet in with their team for at least 5 minutes before I trust them with the bench boost. So that's what I'm thinking. Probably will not be using a chip and hopefully won't be using a transfer until after the first international break.
All right, right on. Let's transition to Mr. Black Wolf's team. Dan, take it away.
Yeah, so before you shit all over my defense, let me explain. This is one of my drafts. And the reason I've picked this one to share is because there are some players here who, every time I make a draft without them, I hate my draft. So I try to figure out a way to fit them all in and to see how it affects the rest of the team. So those players are Mo Salah, Cole Palmer, Bruno Fernandes, Florian Wirtz, and Watkins. Every time I take any one of those guys out, I feel like I'm missing out on them because I just feel like every single one of them can deliver a huge amount of points. So
I'm right there with you, Dan. Those are my core players. I've toggled a little bit with Wirtz versus Marmouche, but the other 4 players that you listed are in every single one of my drafts.
Yeah. So I wanted to make a draft with those players. Unfortunately, what that means is you have to go either really light on defense or one of your forwards to accompany Watkins has to be a cheaper, more budget player. So in this draft, I've picked João Pedro just because he's looked so good for Chelsea so far. I don't expect him to get 90 minutes every game. Let's just say he averages 70 minutes. However, he's scoring with almost
I think that's
every
20.
shot.
In Chelsea's attack, that's more than enough.
Exactly. He's scoring on almost every shot. And his ownership is very, very high. So, in game week 1, I also like to think about ownership. So I've got João Pedro in there, and that means I have to have a really cheap defense. Now, that means I have to have Van der Ven, Nico Williams, and I've picked Diouf from West Ham. I know West Ham are not a good defense, but I've watched this guy play, and he's so high up the field. He's so attacking. He's got a really good cross on him. And I just think with that opening fixture, he could be a good pick. And then I'm happy to bench him wherever needed. And then I can only afford Van der Ven and Nico Williams. Like Buck said, I like the Spurs defense if you rotate it with another team. So for me, I think for now, I've got Richards on the bench from Crystal Palace, but these guys could really be anyone. I basically want 2 4.5 defenders who I can rotate for good fixtures. And then I wanted one Chelsea and one Nottingham Forest defender in my team. So this is my current draft. Now, the ways I could change this that I've thought about is either I downgrade João Pedro to someone like Thiago if Visa leaves, or maybe Strand Larsen, maybe Fulkrug at West Ham. And then I use that 1.51 million to upgrade my defense, to bring in like Pedro Porro or Murillo, players like that to upgrade my defense. That's really the two options. I'm down to two drafts right now. It's one of those two. Because the other player I have in my midfield who I didn't mention currently is Dewsbury Hall. Now, he looked really good in his first game at Everton. However, I don't think he's as nailed as Ndiaye. I think with these new signings, he could potentially drop deeper or even get rotated. I don't know enough about him. And the problem with this draft is I'm probably going to be playing him pretty much every week. So I'm not quite comfortable having him in that position. So I've really just got to decide, do I have João Pedro or do I downgrade him to upgrade my defense and Dewsbury Hall? The only other option really is to take out one of Wirtz and Bruno, and I just really hate any drafts without those two in. I think they both can deliver so many points.
Are you
Wirtz
worried
from an
with
attacking perspective.
Zero City players in this draft?
Yeah, that's another problem. Maybe it's my Wolves bias. They're playing Wolves game week 1, and I'm already scared we're going to get absolutely slaughtered.
Yeah, 3-0.
So rooting for some of their players at the same time is not going to be good for me. And I think they would be easy to jump on once you figure out Pep's preferred lineup. Because I don't know about you guys, but I've noticed he seems to change it every season. Like 2 seasons ago, Foden was in almost every lineup. Then last season, non-existent at the start. He always seems to have a favorite player. Yeah, he always seems to have a favorite player who he sticks with for a certain amount of time. So I think I'd like to wait and see what they look like. And I prefer Salah than Haaland. That's the only player who I would love to have game week 1, but obviously we can't have everyone.
Dan, I have a quick question. You mentioned the structure being kind of, limiting with this current draft because you have such a powerhouse midfield.
Yeah.
If you had to drop one of Bruno or Wirtz, who would be the one you drop first?
Wirtz.
And is there a 7.5 million guy you're thinking, or is
I've toyed with swapping him to Gakpo, but I'm worried about his minutes if they sign Isak or someone else like that. Obviously, you've got players like Eze, but then he might end up going to Tottenham, where I think he becomes immediately not as good of an asset. I could take him down to someone like Ndiaye and then upgrade Dewsbury Hall to a 5.5, kind of similar to your draft books. Then I'm kind of leaning into your draft territory. So
no, I don't like that. Stay different. And then João Pedro, is he kind of your 7.5 million pick?
Yeah, and that's another reason I wanted João Pedro, because if you go with someone like Thiago or Fulkrug or Strand Larsen, you're stuck. If someone like João Pedro smashes it in game week 1, or Mateta smashes it, or Visa moves and he smashes it, I cannot get to him easily in 1 or 2 moves without restructuring my team immediately. So I wanted to start with that 7.5 million.
Can always downgrade later.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. And then, you mentioned you're still very much on the fence with the defense. You have like a prediction for what defense is going to be the best this season?
Well, I mean, I feel like everyone's just suddenly forgotten about Arsenal. There's not many people with Arsenal in their game week 1 squads. I don't think they're suddenly going to be a worse defense. I still think they're probably going to be the best defense in the league. Maybe not to start with game week 1, but I don't think it'll be too long before we're all struggling and scrambling to get Arsenal players in our team.
Yeah, I rate that. Yeah. I think the DEFCON, this is just my quick 2 cents to add, but I think the DEFCON conversation is being a little overblown because the bread and butter of getting defensive points is either attacking returns or clean sheets. And at the end of the day,
clean sheets, baby.
Yeah, you got to target those clean sheets.
Yeah,
we saw last season players like Gabriel and Saliba. If they got a clean sheet, they often finished on 7, 8, or 9 points.
Yeah, it's a great point. I think I just wanted
Gabriel
to get that out
of
you.
3 goals chalked off that should have
exactly
easily stood in different VAR environments.
Yeah, because they're molesting. They're
exactly.
they're mugging the goalkeeper every single time they have a set piece.
Yeah.
So I think DEFCON could end up being really good. I think it could be a good strategy, but I can't remember which of the two of you said it, but I would like to wait and see how it plays out before I commit to DEFCON, because who knows? Maybe players are getting 1 or 2 extra points and it's no big deal. Maybe we're seeing the wingbacks getting 12 points, 13 points every other game.
Yeah, it's like, so glad we have all these center backs. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think for
the
me,
other thing that's not like spoken enough about is, players that are making a lot of tackles and clearances and blocks are like often getting yellow cards. So
yeah,
times where people are, giving up 2 goals, getting a yellow card, and then getting the 2 points for CBIT, it's like, that's 3 points, right? So I feel
exactly.
like it's going to be interesting to see how a lot of those play out. Like, obviously 3 is better than 1, but it's not like you're getting a 7 or 8 pointer. So I'm really curious to see how that plays out over the first 6.
I was asked this on the Wolves pod that I did yesterday, actually, because people were asking me, is João Gomez an option? Because he's someone that's really, really, really good for DEFCON points. However, that guy concedes every game, and he also gets a yellow card almost every game.
Yeah.
So sure, he might get those 2 points for DEFCON,
Right.
but then he's immediately on -2 for those other 2 reasons. And he doesn't get enough goals and assists to counteract that. So
all right, my last question for your draft is, I know you're looking at Diouf. I've been looking at him too, more attacking, more goal threat. Plays on the opposite side of what we think will be Bowen, who Bowen will put in some good crosses, and this Diouf guy could be back post. But I mean, West Ham, they were putrid last season. They have like mixed fixtures, like not great, like they're okay. But you're planning to rotate him in the good fixtures and just hope that he's going to be an upside fullback? Is that your thoughts there? Versus like De Kuiper or Anderson at Fulham, or you got Van de Ven in here, he's garbage, but other 4.5s that you think could emerge.
Yeah.
Konsa, for example.
I basically wanted a 4.5 million wingback who's got the potential to get you attacking returns. And if you look around, there's hardly any of them. Yes, you have De Kuiper, but I'm not certain on his minutes. This Diouf guy is going to play every game. I know West Ham are not very good. So if I get 1 or 2 points for all these defenders, I'm just hoping that the fact I have Salah, Palmer, Fernandes, Wirtz, and Watkins is going to make up for it. I just called him Watkins.
I was going to say, lay off the booze, Danny. Come on.
All right,
Ryan, I can't believe you're
so
slagging our defense. Wait till we get our hands on your draft. Pull that bad boy out.
That's right. It's a pretty similar draft to what a lot of people have right now. I'm not like in love with it, but my main parts are, I want more City, and I'm just afraid to take the leap on the Egyptian Prince and go Marmouche over Wirtz. But the City attack, they're supposed to have the most expected goals through the first 6 games, and so not having a piece of that would be tough to swallow. But I'll read out my full team here from back to front. I have Kelleher in goal. That can be any 4.5. And I have Nico Williams, De Kuiper, and Anderson at Fulham. Midfield is Salah, Palmer, Wirtz, Bruno Fernandes, and Tijuana, Reindeer. Then I have Watkins and Mateta up front. Bench is going to look pretty similar to a lot of people's. I have Dubravka and Estive, potential game week 2 bench boost if they're both going to start versus Sunderland. And Richards and Mark Gooey, aka S'mores, the Gooey S'mores. So
this is essentially my draft, right?
Yeah.
You've basically just taken 0.5 from your goalkeeper and put it in Rudolph instead of Dewsbury Hall.
Yeah, exactly. And then a couple different defenders.
Ryan, why do you have a Brighton guy? Didn't we talk about this last season?
I
thought we're at Brighton Anonymous as Chelsea fans and FPL players. Like
I know.
You're on the 12-step system. You cannot be taking a Brighton guy.
I'm only on step like 6 because I've obviously, I've regressed in my recovery.
Oh,
but
my goodness.
Look,
I'm going to have to take your coins away.
Fulham and Everton in the first 2. The fixtures are not great, but I just see that spot was either going to be Diouf, Dorgu, or De Kuiper. So I'm going to choose one of those fun, kind of unproven guys. I want to have at least one fun guy here. But yeah, the variation of my draft specifically is going to be downgrading Mateta to Fulkrug, most likely, or a 6.0 player. I was looking at JSL for a long time, but now I'm kind of put off by Wolves in the preseason, and they're just kind of wait and see as they hopefully shore up their team. But yeah, so I would downgrade Mateta, free up 1.5, and then I'd probably go, De Kuiper up to Munoz. I still love Munoz, and then I'd swap around Richards to another player, and then I would have $500,000, and I'd upgrade Nico Williams to Milenkovic, because I just think he has the goal threats, and I kind of love that he's a tall Serb that attacks every corner that they have. I've also looked at double defense for NFO just because their attack looks so putrid, but like they have all the same midfielders and kind of defensive mids plus their defense. So those are the options I've been looking at too. But yeah, overall,
you and I are on the same strategy here, clearly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very much after a great, season last year. I do want to swim a little bit with the template, and then make my moves, in game week 4 or 5 once I've seen some matches and know where I want to target my transfers. But I don't want to make a transfer until game week 4, ideally. And so if I don't bench boost in game week 2, then I'll have to have FOMO on a few of these players. But yeah, that's currently where we're at. I also, a big thing for me this season, I want to have as much representation across the entire Premier League as possible. So you'll see in this team, I only have one double up. And then the rest of the team is basically, I'm going to have some skin in the game for every match, to be an addict, check my phone, check FootMob when I'm out with the baby, walking around, or when I'm up at 4:30 a.m. watching the matches and texting Black Wolf Scene, asking him you up baby, for that 4:30 a.m. Wolves match.
I'm always up.
Don't wake up your wife,
right.
Just wake up Dan. That's a good motto.
Yeah, that's right. So, yep, that's where we're at. But I started big at the back, and then over time, I'm just like, I want to have more midfield action. I want those ballers in the midfield, and
Exactly.
I think we'll see how the strategy plays out.
And you said you have 0.5 still in the bank here?
Nada. Fresh out.
I think the only, you talked about template, I think the only EO player that can hurt you here is João Pedro, right?
Yeah, I think he's a great pick, honestly. Like, as a Chelsea supporter, he's a good pick. I don't love that he's not on pens, and that you're also probably paying for a guy who's going to play 65 to 70 minutes most matches, but he could also just slide into a different position, and Delap could come on and he could play the full 90. So it's a TBD. But again, when we're looking at slots, having a 7.5 forward that you could downgrade or make that sideways move if you have to, is tempting. That's the same thing with Watkins. Like, if Gyökeres just pops off and he looks just excellent in the first couple game weeks, I'll definitely just move that player if I need to.
I think it's interesting that you have no double ups. I was going to say that outside of Wirtz and Salah, who kind of are picking themselves for a lot of managers. And then I just think it's very interesting that, we haven't really spoken all that much about each other's teams to one another. And yet we all end up in the same 3-5-2 formation. And we all end up with, 3 or 4 of the same midfielders. And then, at least one of the same attackers leading the line. So
yeah,
I just think the template. Go ahead.
It's a game that you're playing against other people, and just going 80% template in your game week 1 squad is just going to set you up for most likely a good start. I don't need to be in the top 1 million. I just need to have a solid start and then make up my ground over time, where I know I can use my edge in terms of eye test and getting into the right picks at the right time. And I think that's just kind of the strategy that I'm deploying. Now, I know at the end of last year, Bucks, we potted about, my miraculous season. And I was so adamant about having 2 really good playing bench players going into this season. And now, as you can see on this team,
you only got one.
Thin as ice, man. We got a pretty lackluster bench here with one guy. So I need a gooey man to step up and get regular minutes. But that's where we're at for now.
I feel like it's going to be so much easier this season to change your team, though, with the transfers and all of the chips and the AFCON transfers. It's like we can fix our teams pretty quickly.
Exactly.
I have one quick question. I see that we all have about 3 or 4 penalty kick takers. We think penalties are are going to be coming back this season? You think that last season was a blip, or kind of that's just more routes to points?
I mean, I think each of these teams have improved their attack. Obviously, it'll take some time to build that rapport, but when you look at Arsenal, Chelsea, City, Manchester United,
Liverpool, yep.
Liverpool, there are a lot of crafty additions to the Premier League this season. We've seen so many new players, new world-class players entering the league and getting a ton of minutes in these sides. So I would expect pens to go up for those really powerhouse teams.
Yeah, but we could say that not every team has gotten better. Newcastle, excuse me.
I feel bad for them, man. Nobody wants to do business with them. They've signed
Champions
one lowly
League
center
bound,
back
and
and
yet
Alanga.
they couldn't get a drunken sailor to come into their whorehouse right now. It
looks like they're getting Jacob Ramsey today, though, by the looks of it.
Super exciting. I bet he's gonna set the world on fire with his
a good player.
3 career goals.
Good player he is.
Josh Murphy 2.0.
40 mil is an absurd number for him, though.
Yeah, that's true.
It seems more closer to 30. I would have liked it, but all right, we've gone long on our teams. But hey, when you host a podcast and have your own show, you can do whatever the bleep you want. Now we're going to go into our hashtag FPL community questions. We're kindly going to ask Bucks to raise his microphone level a tiny bit to be closer to his face so we can hear him crystal clear as we dissect a friend of the show at FPL Paz, Mr. Placido. What do we think here? Let's read out the team. Sanchez in goal, Pedro Porro, Murillo, Tarkowski, Salah, Anderson, Palmer, Reinders, Bruno Fernandes, Mateta, and Watkins. And then he's got the same bench as I do, Dubravka, Richards, Mark Gahey, and Steve. So he's gone with a pretty interesting backline. So what are your thoughts there on his 5.5s across the board?
This is clearly just yet another variation of the teams that we've just shared. He's basically just taken out the money of not having Verts and put it into his defenders. Otherwise, it's pretty much an identical draft to mine and yours, Brian. So I like this draft. It's basically having one less attacking midfielder and putting that money into attacking or C-bit defenders. Really?
Yeah, I like the balance of this team, and clear that Paz is a loyal listener, because if you were listening to our preseason positional previews, I had mentioned that I really love that 5.5 million defender price bracket, almost more so than the 6 million. And I think Paz has really leaned into that. You got to assume those are the 3 defenders he's going to start most game weeks, and they're all priced very nicely at 5.5 million. Now, the one drawback I think is, looking at this team, probably going to end up having to make gut calls on Reindeer and Anderson almost each and every game week, and whether you start them over your 4th defender. I kind of would maybe want to upgrade one of those into, someone even at 6.5 million by downgrading one of those defenders. That's the only thing that really jumps out to me.
Yeah, so at 6.5, who do you like? Is it Sarr, even though he's got Mateta?
Sarr, Ndiaye, potentially Grealish at some point. But again, those are moves you can make in game week 3 or game week 4 once we know a little bit more. And just worth mentioning, I know Anderson right now is the chalkiest of the 5.5 million. There's a lot of reports that Forest are going to sign this James McAtee kid from Manchester City, who's also 5.5 million. I mean, just the way that I like to play the game, I would much rather have McAtee than this Anderson fella. But
he'll probably take set pieces off him too.
Yeah, so that's just my Bucks 2 cents that I'm dropping in here.
I really like this draft. I think it's a very balanced draft. I think the only problem with this one, which we kind of just touched on, is if you do see one of the 6.5, 7.5 million midfielders hit it off, Paz hasn't got an easy route to it unless he downgrades one of his defenders. He's a little bit stuck, but I think everyone's in that same boat in some way or another. His just happens to be a slight variation.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see people playing a 4-5-1 after a couple game weeks, because you look at Mateta, he had about 16 attacking returns, 14 goals, a couple assists last season. That only got him 150 points, right? So even though he went through, you have to just time his purple patches. And I think that goes for a lot of the forwards. But if you're comparing, that money versus having Gabriel or a 6.0 defender for the whole season, it's just not even going to come close. So I think we're going to really struggle and chase the timing of the purple patch forwards this whole season.
I think a player that we might be sleeping on at 6 million is Frimpong. I've hardly seen him in any drafts. Now, we saw in the last game that Bradley wasn't even in the squad. He's not fit yet,
Yeah,
which
point.
means Frimpong is close to nailed to start with, and he's super, super attacking. We even
he
saw
was basically
Slot say
playing
that,
right wing next to Salah in that.
Come AFCON when Salah leaves, I think Frimpong is expected to play right wing, so I think he's going to be in everyone's team at that point.
I'm also a bit worried about the way that he bombs up the pitch and overlaps with Salah. Like I'm just waiting to see how that plays out, right? Because I think we've been so used to Trent in a deep lying defender role and a creative role, feed Salah at the right times up the pitch. Now we're going to see Frimpong kind of be taking some of the balls off of Mo Salah potentially on the right-hand side. So very interesting to see. Lastly, just want to touch on Pedro Porro. What do you think about this pick, Bucks? He's obviously going to be on like all set pieces with James Madison, RIP, tearing his ACL. So I rate the pick infinitely better and more than
now that I
than
see it,
VDV.
Now that I see it, I mean, it's almost a no-brainer to just go Porro over VDV. And, Romero would get the silver medal, but I don't know. It's just trusting Spurs defense. The more that I heard you grill me for it, it's kind of the dirtier that it sounds on my end of the mic here.
I think there's no doubt that Pedro Porro is the best Spurs defensive option. There's no doubt about that.
I'd have he's a premium. Yeah, it's really, you got to bank on those attacking returns. So,
I mean, he's worth it. I think he's a great asset this season. I really do. I think he's underrated. The thing about Porro is
let's actually stay here for a sec. Let's rank 5.5 million defenders. Of the 3 that Paz has in his team, how would you rank them?
Oh god, that's difficult. Well, I prefer the fun factor. So Pedro Porro would be number 1 for me, and then Tarkovsky because of his DEFCON points, and then Maria.
Brian,
honestly, I'm only picking a Forest defender because of their high ownership. I don't like owning Forest defenders. I think they're a boring team to watch. I don't like having them in my FPL team. But their EO is scary.
I had the voodoo doll out all of the second half of last season because I went through the entire season without owning an NFO defender and still placed so highly. But there were many times in the run in the last 10 game weeks where I was like, yes, they conceded in the 90th minute. You hate to be that guy, but I was definitely that guy putting out the jinx.
You love to be that guy.
You loved it.
Brian.
Yeah, you loved it.
You were like... You have like drafted text messages when it comes to the 80th or 90th minute that you just send to your rivals. They're like, curse you, son of Satan.
All right, let's move on to the next one, which is my guy, Kev Johnson in Sydney. Used to work with the lad down under. So he has Sells in goal, Tarkowski, Cucurella, Nico Williams, and Konsa. Then he's got Mo, Bruno, and Palmer. Beto, João Pedro, and Watkins. And then on the bench, he has Dubravka, Reinders, Aaron Ramsey 2.0, and Electric Steve. Interesting picks here, and he's currently sent the screenshot in a 4-3-3. You don't see that very often. So, Blackwolf, what are your thoughts here on the Chelsea Blues fan, Kev Johnson?
A couple of thoughts. Look, I don't mind his squad. However, I would for sure play Rudolph over Konza. And play a 3-4-3 with this for sure. I don't know why you're picking Rudolph if you're not playing him from game week 1 when he's at his most nailed, probably. Second of all, I hate Beto as a pick. I don't think he's nailed in any way. He's going to be benched. He's going to be rotated. I would prefer to upgrade him somehow, probably by downgrading one of your defenders.
Oh, really? I was going to say the other way. I think, like you said, Black Wolf, start Reindeer over Konza and take the Beto money, just go down to Gooey Man and either invest to get a real kind of 5th midfielder, because this Ramsey guy.
Yeah, you could do that too.
Or just take Konza and go up to, another 5 or 5.5. So there are funds available to redistribute in this team, but I like the structure, and I think maybe 4-4-2 is getting a little slept on by kind of the template in game week 1. That was something
I like the fact that he's being different. I like the fact that he's going for 4 at the back and he has a different structure to us. I just don't like the players he's picked to do it.
Yeah,
to be honest.
I agree.
Yeah,
Brian, I know I sent you a draft where I had Semenyo on my bench for game week 1, and that was in a 4-4-2. So I think it looks great, but he just needs to set the bus team a little more accurately.
I love that he's a big Chelsea supporter and he's gone with the triple up. He has João Pedro, Cucurella, Palmer. So it's a pretty good start. I would say that he is a man who owes a few bets, and he had to buy one of our other followers of the podcast and one of our mini league mates a custom jersey for Liverpool winning the championship and just crushing Chelsea along the way. So hopefully, Kev, I'm rooting for you. I hope you take down your mini league rival this season. But a couple moves to make to just really square up this lineup.
Yeah, Brian,
Next.
You say that, but on our podcast, we're having to suffer through that same injustice. We're sending a Liverpool kit to the overall winner and 23rd place manager in the world for his efforts last season. Next up, who we got?
We got Jabs out in New York, I believe. One of your
Jabs, let's meet for a beer game week 1.
Yeah, I know on WhatsApp his little icon is cat, Carl Anthony Towns, in a Knicks kit. So
love that.
He's got Sanchez in goal, Diouf, Romero, Nico Williams, and across the midfield, Reindeers, Njai, Verts, Salah, Caicedo, and then he's got Holland and Watkins up front. Dubravka, Kansa, Gooey Man, and Steve on the bench. So, I mean, it's the first team that we're seeing Holland in versus Wolves, game week 1. How many goals are City going to score versus Wolves? 4?
At least 3.
At least 3 for sure. I was just looking at this team and I was thinking, damn, that's an amazing team. Like, how the hell did he afford this? And then I realized he has no Cole Palmer.
Yeah.
So that's where the sacrifice he's made is.
Don't hate it.
No, I don't hate it. I'm looking at this thinking, wow, that's a nice draft. But, I can't go without Cole Palmer.
I mean, I think it's brilliant because the fact that you have Holland and Salah, I mean, it's just going to make it very easy to redistribute funds when the time comes to figure out which one of them is the better asset. You're not going to kind of be picking either or. And listen, I think the Caicedo Reindeers in the midfield, I don't hate it. I wish he had like a spare 0.5 million somewhere, but I know, when you have Salah and Holland, you can't have them all, kind of thing.
I think I would
Salah and Holland. So go ahead.
I would look at making some concessions. Like, unless you're a Spurs fan, like I don't think you need to have Romero. So I think you could easily eke out 0.5 there. And I think I would just want to upgrade one of Reinders or Caicedo, just do a little bit more of a known quantity. Potentially.
Well, the issue is, right, there's not really a guy that's clearly there at 6 million. You kind of have to find the spare 1 million to go to 6.5. Yeah. That's the real challenge.
You'd have to look at downgrading Sanchez to a 4-5, potentially downgrading Romero, and then going Caicedo up to like Sarr. I think Sarr is being slept on. Great pick. He was fabulous in the Community Shield. He was giving Liverpool all kinds of trouble, and I think he's a player. When you're looking at the second half of last season, he had one of the top 7 XGs. That's a player at 6'5", could be interesting. But yeah, I like the draft. Good to see Holland in. And let's just repeat the fixtures for City in the opening 6: Wolves, Tottenham, Brighton, United, Arsenal, Burnley.
Yeah, fantastic.
Other than the Arsenal fixture, there's a lot of goals there, especially, we're seeing Tottenham versus all these Super Cup teams conceding a lot of goals. Like they look okay, but, they're playing some top teams in the preseason. And, I think that's going to be a 3-1 type of match for City to win with Tottenham at home. So, and no Sonny, my guy here. That's why I'm repping the Tottenham kit right now, because R.I.P. Sonny. He's in my backyard now here in LA.
Yeah, you're going to see more of him.
Yeah, Sonny has always killed, Man City, but now he's no longer. So, interesting team there, Jabs. Couple routes to maybe change, but I like it. It's just really cheap in the midfield with a few of those picks.
Yeah, I rate this team.
Can I lob a spicy meatball into the Jabs conversation here?
We're so
To my
hungry.
New York.
We're so hungry. Both Black Wolf and I haven't had dinner. You're throwing meatballs at us. Get
I'm
in my
sorry.
mouth.
I'll brush a little sauce off so it doesn't stain your beautiful kits. But I would seriously, with this team, I would seriously consider captaining Holland. You have him.
Oh yeah.
Love
So
it.
you already have Salah, so you're going to be covered on that front. It's not like you're going completely without him, but because you're chasing the upside of having both Salah and Holland, I think you kind of have to give Holland the armband because he'll be a differential in game week 1.
I was going to say something similar. I really rate this draft, actually. I haven't seen many Salah Haaland drafts that I like. I really like this one because basically if Haaland outscores Palmer, which is very, very possible, this guy's laughing. He's like really high up the ranks. So I love this draft.
Like it. It's our first Salah and Palmer draft. All right, next up, we have.
But I will say, I think Palmer for me is the most underpriced asset in the game. So,
well, you're a Chelsea fan, so
yeah, you would say that.
Of course, I come strewn with bias.
Homerific man over here. As I'm saying that with my new Cole Palmer sign kit in the background here. Shout out to Sign Football Shirts representing and helping support our at FPLUSA leagues. Dan hooked me up since I was the winner of the what was I in gold last year? Gold division. So get involved with that. Dan, give a quick plug how to get involved with that.
Sure, just go on to social media at FPLUSA Leagues. And if you're from the USA, which I think most of our listeners are, you can join that competitive league with a chance at winning a signed shirt like you see behind Brian.
Woo! All right. Next up is my brother-in-law, Mr. Nick Hazy, a Manchester City fan himself. He's got an interesting lineup here.
This is wild.
He plays FPL his own way. I don't think he's even on Twitter, on X. So he has Alisson Becker in goal, Ruben Diaz, Kiwior, Kirkez, Gvardiol. Then he's got Foden, Odegaard, and Rice. Then he's got João Pedro, Wood, and Vissa. And then on the bench, who do we have? Of course, we got Leno, Bumo, Cunha, and Munoz. What an auto pick gem this team is. Oh my God. Have you even seen something like this, Dan?
No, but I guarantee this team outscores all of our teams. He's put no thought into it. He hasn't been on social media.
By the way, this is Bench Boost game week 1.
Is it?
Potential.
So
potential, right?
I mean, it has to be. You can't pick Bumo, Cunha, Munoz, and Leno and not bench boost.
Well, I think the issue is that, he has, 5 guys playing against each other on the bench boost, which I don't know. I don't like that, but I think
he also has rotation risks in this team.
Yeah, this is a wild kind of more or less. He's a Man City supporter, so I think this is probably auto-picked with a couple of City guys thrown in there.
Yep.
I'm not seeing lots of Arsenal in any teams, let alone having a triple up from the get-go, so I don't know. We'll have to talk to Uncle Hazy over here.
I know. We're gonna slide in his DMs to help sort him out a little bit. I'm definitely keen for him to have a triple up on City since that's his team, but we got too many wild cards out here that we're gonna have to sort out. So just wanted to show a very fun team, and he submitted this with this is what not to do.
Well, I rate people that go different. Honestly, the only pick I hate in that draft is Visa because he's not playing right now. Everyone else, who knows? They can get points.
Kiwi's not going to start either, so it's just like
maybe Ruben Diaz isn't either. So maybe it's shit.
We talked you through that one, Black Wolf.
Yeah.
I was trying to be nice.
All right, next up, Bucks. We got to highlight our guy at FPL Hunt. Wow, he's one of the FPL USA elite players. He's got multiple top 10K finishes in his young age. Shout out to my SoCal brother right there. I've hung out with him a couple times over the past year. So he is on an interesting strategy, which is bench boost 1, wild card 4. So I love bringing this to the forefront. Bucks, he's all in. Why don't you read the team from back to front?
I'm getting PTSD just looking at this team. He has a Spurs triple up with Vicario in goal, with Pedro Porro, Van de Ven, and Murillo in front of them. He's got Palmer, Marmouche, Gakpo, Bruno Fernandes, and Jorginho Rudder from Brighton. Then he has Watkins and Wood up top. The bench has Sells, João Pedro, Ballard. I don't even know who the fuck that is. And Tosin.
Sunderland defender.
So this is a really interesting team. Game week 1, bench boost. I've done it
Yeah.
before. It's kind of a fixture play, honestly. But the issue is you're going the first 4 matches with neither Salah or Holland. And I actually think they're probably the best captaincy option, one of them, in all 4 of those game weeks. So for that reason, I'm kind of a little suspect on it. And, we already talked about Gakpo versus Verts. I mean, when Isak comes in, I all of a sudden think Gakpo is a major minutes risk. I think Ekitike will be starting there instead of him. The Jorginho pick is spicy. That's someone who's been in my thoughts a little bit. 6 million. Could be mispriced if he's going to be playing at a position as the number 9 for Brighton. It's a good team. It's a very interesting differential strategy.
Here's the thing about Connor, right? I love this guy. I love you, Connor. He knows I'm joking. But this guy has the most wild, insane ideas. I know he's a very analytical manager. Sometimes I look at his team and I think, what the hell are you doing? And then he outscores me and beats me every single season. Like this team, he might get 1s and 2 points everywhere. And then he'll get like a Ballard bullet header on the defense. And he'll outscore everyone. It's just how this guy operates. He's a very analytical manager. He's a very, very good manager. I'm sure he's really thought about not only this game week, but the next 6 to 7 to 8 game weeks. So, I can never not rate his drafts because he puts so much thought into them and they always play out. So
it's an interesting alternative strategy. And one thing, especially, he was definitely one of my go-tos to just bounce a few ideas off last year when I was really rising the ranks. And once I got inside the top 10K, just trying to stay in there. And his strategy of going for a triple up on, Tottenham in this situation is really, if you get 1 clean sheet from this team, you're going to be just on 18 plus points from your defense. And so last year he was always saying, like, why are you hedging with an Arsenal defender and starting a, Konsa, for example? Just start 2 of your Villa defenders, fade Arsenal completely, and then over the last couple of game weeks, I started both Konsa and Martinez in goal, and I reaped the reward. So it's an all-in strategy that can go well, and you only need 1 clean sheet to go well. Jorginho isn't really, or just a fantastic, interesting pick if he can nail down that spot, because he has qualities in his game where he can play the 10 as well, and if some matches he's out of position playing the 9, like we said before, we just don't trust Brighton, and we're just not sure what we're gonna get from that squad. But I'm so jealous he has Marmoush, man. If he's going for him, maybe I should sack up and just get rid of Verts and get Marmoush in there, the Egyptian prince.
That's the other thing I love about Connor's drafts, right? So the only player that can really, really hurt him here is Salah and Verts, I guess. So the Liverpool attack. He's basically swerved Liverpool. Now, if Liverpool have a bad game or they get a 1-0 or something like that,
they do what they just did. Like, for example,
exactly.
Community Shield, no involvement for Salah. He gets a yellow card. Verts gets a yellow card and just an assist. He ends on 4 points.
Exactly. That could absolutely happen again. And he's got pretty much every other highly owned player. He's also got a ton of differentials in here. All he needs is Cole Palmer to pop off, or Rutter to pop off, or Spurs to keep a clean sheet, Chris Wood to score. He's got so many players where they just have to do one thing, and he's already going to beat the average. Yeah, that's what I love really about Connor's picks.
To what both of you are saying, it's major boomer bust kind of draft. I love the idea of the triple up on Spurs defense and then the double up on Forest defense in game week 1. I think where this is kind of going to get a little sticky is, game week 2, game week 3, before you hit the wild card. Selecting the starting 11 is going to be that's going to be a little annoying. And then you're, like we said, you don't have Salah and you don't have Holland, but as a differential strategy, probably backed up by analytics, it's definitely something very different than what we're seeing as kind of the template.
Yeah, and he does have Gakpo. Sorry, I said he swerved Liverpool. He does have Gakpo, so he's got that covered too.
And I personally think that Gakpo is going to be pretty nailed on. Like, I don't see a world where Newcastle sells Isak until after they face Liverpool in game week 2, and so I just think Gakpo until
said he's not training with the team, and Isak said he's never going to play with them again. So
yeah, no, that's perfect.
That move is eminent.
but why would you transfer him to a team that you're going to then immediately play him in, right? Like they can transfer him the last day of the fucking window, right? So I just think that if you're going to wildcard in game week 4, Gakpo is really, really a great pick in terms of the first 3 game weeks.
I agree.
Okay.
That's a good point.
And
All
I
right,
just want to tease here quickly. If Mr. Connor commits to the strategy, I've guaranteed him to be on our game week 4 preview since he'll be on wildcard. So little teaser there for the hashtag FPLUSA community. Love you, Connor. Next up, who do we got here? We have at FPL Ched, the Ched man himself.
The Ched end, as they call it at Stamford Bridge.
All right, Bucks, run us through this team.
Yeah, so we got the double up Kelleher and Vladimirson, Konza, Murillo, Van de Ven, Munoz, and the Stevie Man. We got Salah, Palmer, Sarr, Bruno Fernandes, and Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, behind Watkins, João Pedro, and Krupi Jr.
Krupi Jr.
The Krupi Man.
Jr. Hey, man,
So
I was watching
just looking at this team on a quick first glance. Looks like another 3-5-2 from the off. And it looks like Krupi Jr., probably Konza, and a Stevie are going to be saddled on the bench in game week 1. I like this team.
Yeah, it's just similar to a lot of the other ones we said at the start. I think he does have 0.5 million in the bank, though. I would totally put that into the team. There's no reason to hold 0.5 on the bench, in my opinion.
Oh, good eye.
Yeah, what do you think about 1 whole million, Black Wolf?
Get out of here, Bucks. Your garbage ass team. I love that.
Good team.
I love that he's backed Crystal Palace. And some people, especially content creators, are like, oh, they have Europa Conference League matches, between 1 and 2 and 2 and 3. It's like, I mean, big deal. They just had the whole summer off. You're telling me some of these top
say something
players
like that? So dumb.
I'm just saying, like, when you're looking at it in a month's time, all of the top teams are going to be in Europe. So they're just starting their European journey a little bit early, but in preseason, they're waxing people. Like they're at least looking to go, to a flying start compared to seasons past. So I back Munoz as one of the best picks in the game. I think he's got 15 plus pointers in him. So I like that he's gone that way when some people are not.
Yeah, I think the Palace project are giving real credence to consistency, and the fact that they've brought back pretty much their entire starting 11, and they have kept the squad together from a historic season winning trophy last year, going into Europe this year. They're starting fast, and they look really strong in preseason, that's for sure. I like the Sarr pick. I like the Munoz pick. I agree with what you both said. 0.5 million should just be in this draft. I think probably bring VDV to Romero. Easy peasy.
Just want to shout out, I'm looking at some notes that he sent me on X, and he said that if he hears that Morgan Rogers is 100% good to start game week 1, Sarr is going to be him in that slot. Otherwise, he'll definitely put that money elsewhere. And he's done he sent me a nice, tidy, just fixture rotation with his defenders through the first 5 weeks, a 5x5 matrix. He's doing some nerdy FPL planning. We love to see it. He's on top of it, so he's already planned out his rotation. So good on him there. It's a solid draft.
Yeah, next up, really strong. Good balance.
Next up, who do we got? Oh, we have Kev Johnson's nemesis, Uzi FPL, the man down under. So this
also
is
a new dad,
draft.
Brian. He's not getting any sleep either.
That's right. Okay, so we have Sells in goal, De Kuiper, Wan-Bissaka, and Cucurella in the back. Then we have Salah, Saka, Kudus, Palmer, Njai, Watkins, Fulkrug. Very interesting. Kelleher on the bench for no reason. That's too much money there. Mark Gui, whoever. We'll have Dan talk about him in a second, and then Steve. Very, very interesting draft here. A couple of different picks, and the first Arsenal player makes an appearance here with Saka. So, what are your thoughts on this draft, Dan? It's definitely a little different, but it's got a lot of the core cogs that we're seeing across the meta.
Yeah, it's different, but I like it a lot. The only real difference he's got here is he swerved Wirtz and Bruno Fernandes and put in Saka.
And
instead. Now,
Kudus,
Saka is a player who I think a lot of people are sleeping on. Like, he's still a very, very good asset, especially when fully fit. So I think he's the player that a lot of people are going to panic and try and bring in. Like, if he bangs game week 1 against Man United and then they have Leeds at home game week 2, everyone's going to panic. Whereas this guy's already got him in. And he might end up going to 10.1, 10.2. And a lot of us are going to be like, oh, crap, what do we do? So I really like this draft.
Yeah, very
I
interesting.
agree with that point, Black Wolf. I do think that, captaincy for game week 2, Uzi has fully settled. There will be Saka pretty clearly. I think he has to make the switch for Palmer's captain to go to Salah. I know he's a Liverpool supporter, so I expect that will happen pretty soon.
I can't believe he doesn't have Verts in this squad.
Well, I just think my cautionary tale is this full crew guy is like, he's my age. He's built like I am. I don't think he has 3 kids, so he doesn't have that excuse because he's a professional athlete. And I would just word to the wise that I'm not sure that guy is long for a starting position at West Ham.
Oh, I disagree. I think when they brought him in, he's a German international. He just has not been healthy all of last season.
Yeah, because he's 35 and has a beer belly. That's why he's not healthy.
And there's nothing wrong with a beer belly, my guy. Come on now. Cheers to you. Cheers to me. Come on.
Yeah, come on. Cheers.
Yeah, I would be interested to see if I would bin Cucurella. I'd move him down to a 4.5, and then I'd move Kelleher down to Dubravka for a 4.0, and I'd take Kudus to Verts, and this team looks sexy. Thoughts?
Oh, yeah. I like that strategy. Okay.
Not bad.
I will talk about Hoover. He's got on the bench. I've been asked a lot of people about him because he's played most games preseason for Wolves, and he's
Wolves corner.
Yeah, he's 4.0 million. However, I've been telling to everyone, just avoid this guy. Avoid this guy. First of all, he's absolutely shit. He's by far our worst player in our first team 11.
Oh, wow.
We've been very, very publicly trying to get a new... Yeah, we've been very publicly trying to get a new right wing back. We've failed in our attempts, but the fact is we're trying really hard to get a Semedo replacement because Hoover just is not it. We've also got Rodrigo Gomez and Pedro Lima, even Matt Doherty, who at any point could come in at right wing back if they absolutely have to. So not only is his place already at risk, if we sign someone, he's definitely at risk. And then, having said all that, we're also a terrible defense. So this guy is not going to get you any points anyway. So just avoid him. There's no reason to have him.
Yeah, there are plenty of other 4 million options. So just pick someone else.
Yeah, I would say who's the 4.0 lad at Leeds who's Rodon, right? He's
Rodon
4.0.
or Goodmanson.
I prefer Goodmanson than him.
All right.
And there's also Ray and Yildo and Hill on Bournemouth.
All right, couple more teams left here before we get to dinner in the West Coast and we put Bucks to bed. At Holy Pinto, our music man himself. He has Sells in goal, O'Brien, Tosin, Van de Ven, Tijuana, Reindeer.
Wow, I guess there are a lot of Van de Ven idiots who listen to this podcast. Fools. Sheesh.
Then we have Tijuana, Reindeer, Harry Wilson from Fulham, Palmer, Rogers, Mo Salah, Holland, and Wood. On the bench, Dubravka, Goodmanson, Steve, Gui. We're seeing all these benches basically identical, but interesting lineup here to have both Salah and Holland and Palmer. I think that's the first time we've seen all of those guys. So no Verts, no Marmouche, no Bruno Fernandes. So I know he's a Fulham supporter. He's actually a Chelsea supporter turned Fulham supporter, but we won't get into that. This is a very, very cheap bench.
Oh, my days.
What are your thoughts, Bucks? Give him a honest grade here. Rate his team.
I like it. I mean, it's definitely very different. Clearly, he's no longer a Chelsea supporter because he has Tosin in, which I don't think that lad is nailed whatsoever. Wilson has the high upside. I think he was the most exciting Premier League preseason player from Fulham. I just think Fulham might regress this season, even though Wilson might be more nailed for minutes. That doesn't necessarily impact his FPL value. Yeah, listen, I think having the rotation of Salah, Palmer, and Holland is really exciting. But this wouldn't be necessarily my preferred structure. I'd want to have a little bit more juice in midfield. Wilson and Reindeer and Rogers. I would just want to bump one of those guys up if possible.
Interesting. I mean, Rogers will basically need to cover Watkins, right? Rogers, if he's fit, needs to get close to what Watkins is. But yeah, it's an interesting side. I love that he's got that trio of captaincy options, and he can downgrade. If one of those three are not firing in the first 3 game weeks, he can bin them and go anywhere he wants. So he just has to hope that those mid-priced, the Brunos, the Vertzes, Marmouche, none of those guys pop off, because he'll be having some FOMO.
Yeah, I like how different this is, to be honest. And I think he's targeting fixtures in a smart way with the defense. So I like that.
Yeah, and he's also got I know he's got O'Brien instead of Tarkovsky. He's got Tosin instead of Cucurella and Sanchez. He's got Sales instead of the Nottingham Forest defenders. So he's at least still got those teams covered with
just
cheaper
in a cheaper
assets.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't mind it.
Yeah. I'd be a little bit worried with 2 4.0s on the bench, but I know he likes to go all out in his starting 11. All right, friend of the show at FPL Dallas, the Count of Tuscany. He is bringing us his squad, and he has Sanchez, Murillo, Tarkowski, Pedro Porro. What is this, a Paz copycat here?
Oh, my goodness.
Palmer,
they spent too much time
Marmouche.
arguing in our group chats.
He's got Palmer, Marmouche, Mo Salah, Anderson, and Tijuana. Reindeer, plus Solanke and Watkins up top. And then he has Anderson and Richards. So he's got 2 4.5s on the bench for his defenders, I believe. Yes, interesting. All right, so squad. Solanke was actually probably in my game week 1 draft once the game dropped, and then he has just been nowhere. I think he might have if he starts the Super Cup match, could be interesting, but I'm just worried about him playing full 75 minutes plus to start the season. But he's gone with a strong defense, and Marmouche over Verts, and he's a Liverpool supporter. I can't believe that he doesn't have Verts. Notes.
I mean, yeah, it's very similar to a lot of other people's. I like it a lot. I know he's got Solanke in there, but if Solanke's not fit, he can easily move him to another 7.5 million forward. I do find it interesting he went Marmouche over Verts, not only as a Liverpool supporter, but also because he's already got Rudolph in the Man City attack. However, he clearly rates the City attack highly. He clearly rates the Wolves defense poorly, so he's just going for those points.
Both.
So
both
I don't
So
mind
he
this
has
at
a
all.
pulse, is what you're saying, Black Wolf?
I don't. It's Dallas, so I want to say I hate it, but it's a good draft.
He's due for a bounce back year. I think he was top 15K the 2 years ago, and last year was cat's tongue rough for him. So we'll see if Dallas can make a bounce back. But
one thing I would just clear
0.5
0.5 out of one of those defenders on the bench. Try and keep the bench cheap as chips.
Yeah, I'm just not convinced on Solanke as a pick, but he can go with João Pedro, which I know he asked us question bucks on the forwards pod that we addressed, so I could see him going Mateta or another 7.5 pound striker there.
He could even go with Bowen, because he's got 0.5 million. If he takes off 0.5 million from one of those defenders, puts it into Bowen.
Yeah,
so I really like Bowen as a pick, and I haven't seen Bowen in any drafts. I think he's a sleeper pick.
Yeah, my first draft, I had Watkins and Bowen up top for a long time, and that's a good thing to bring back around. I think, Potter Ball 2.0, second season at West Ham, maybe they see an improvement, but it's a little bit like if you're gonna get Bowen, he's just you have him for at least 10 plus game weeks, because you don't know when he's gonna score his goals. But I do rate the pick. I talked about it on the forwards preview. All right, next up we have Boston Red coming at us. I think this is one of our last ones. Kelleher, Gabriel, Munoz, Milinkovic, Van de Ven in a 4-4-2.
Van de Ven,
Rogers, Saka. Yeah, let me hide my bias there.
Yeah,
João Pedro and
you're wearing a Spurs kit, man.
Gyökeres. Then we got Dubravka, Shaka Khan, Mark Gui, and Steve. Interesting here. Saka.
This guy's got triple. He's got triple Arsenal. This team. So
I was gonna say, but he's on bench boost too. He's in my DMs, so that's why he has the double up on Sunderland and the triple up on Arsenal. I really like this team structure. It's a little ambitious because, again, Gyökeres, you don't know how he's necessarily going to bet in. But the fact that he's kind of just gone rogue, whereas the template is having 0 Arsenal and he has the kind of most premium triple up, I can't say I hate it. It actually is a really strong looking team.
It is. If they beat Man United and get a clean sheet, he's already going to be ahead of people
Yep.
And then,
And then he has
he's got
Saka
the triple up for
captain,
Leeds.
People are going to be
So,
pulling up their
yeah.
team to transfer in Gabriel or Saliba, etc. So my
Yeah.
big thing here is it's just so much money to have for both Saka and Gyökeres if we don't know who's on pens, right? And so like I respect him for going for Gyökeres, maybe just bin Saka for Palmer and maybe spread that risk a little bit. Would be my one note there.
Well, one thing also, I think that Xhaka as your fifth mid, either go 0.5 up or just go to 4.5. I mean, you're never going to play this guy, so even if you're bench boost too, I don't know, is he really going to get a huge return against Burnley away? That wouldn't be my favorite pick. I would rather have KDH for what it's worth.
Yep. All right, two more teams. Here we go. We have
The final
FPL _Bangla. He's coming at us with, oh my God, the amount of times I'm seeing fucking VDV in these lineups. He's got
You're going to have an ulcer, bro.
VDV,
Calm down.
Diouf, Aina, then Anderson, Salah, Palmer, Bruno Fernandes, Gakpo, Mateta, and Watkins cap. Interesting. For Bruggen, Richard, Steve, Krupi Jr. So another
This
Gakpo.
is basically my draft. However, he's got Gakpo instead of Wirtz, and then he's used the extra 1 million to put into Anderson and Verbruggen on defense. Otherwise, this draft is almost identical to mine.
Yeah, I don't get why you would have. I mean, I guess for bench boost, that's probably why he's got Verbruggen over Dubravka. I think Neko Williams is definitely better than Aina, even though Aina had his stellar year last year. But I think for C-bit stuff, we're seeing Neko Williams do better. But yeah, strong draft. I love that he's got Bruno in there. No Arsenal representation, no City representation. So you're going to be hiding behind the couch when those matches come up.
I actually don't mind that he's picked Verbruggen because here's the thing. A lot of people are doing bench boost too with Dubravka. There's every chance Dubravka's not ready for game week 2. And then all of these people who plan bench boot 2 are no longer going to do it. Whereas he's setting himself up to pretty much guaranteed to do it.
Yep, that'll be me.
Yeah, but Krupi Jr. might not feature, so it's kind of you win one, you lose one.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, Krupi Jr. is going to be a 45 million pound player in 2 years. They're going to really do really good. He's
going to be a crap load of Krupi at some point. Let's go to the final one. This is running long. My New York City brother in arms, Big Apple, the best in real life goalkeeper for any pickup teams needing a brick wall in your netminder position.
Yeah, we met him in person at the meetup a couple years ago that Always Cheating podcast threw down with FPL Meets. And he was one sweaty man because he was diving all over the pitch, indoor.
He was standing on his head. I think at one point he he ripped his shirt. I mean, he was playing goalie so intensely on those indoor fields. It was a sight to behold, but he earned my respect forever from that moment. That's for sure.
There you go. All right, interesting team here. Sanchez, Ryan Aït-Nouri makes an appearance. Pedro Porro, Neko Williams, Bruno, Wirtz, Papamadasar, whatever the M stands for, Rogers, Mateta, Holland, Fulkrug. And then on the bench, he's got Gabriel, John Arias at Wolves, Truffert, whoever that is, and Dubravka. Okay, some interesting different picks in this one.
Yeah, I'm not quite understanding this draft because at first I thought he's got Gabriel on the bench because he's probably going to do bench boost game week 2. But then he's picked like Sa, who's going to be playing Man City, and Pedro Porro is going to be playing Man City. So I'm not quite sure what his strategy is here.
For no Salah team, I do not like it. No Salah, no Palmer.
Yeah, I was going to say with a no Salah and no Palmer midfield, I would want to see the attack a lot stronger. So I would find a way to redistribute funds from Fulkrug and probably from Rogers and Gabriel. So those are 3 players that probably won't be in each and every game week nailed on. I would want to have nailed on players that you're going into every game week knowing that they at least have more routes to points. So
exactly, there's no point spending 6 million on Gabriel only to bench him.
Yeah, same thing with Arias. I thought he was my favorite 5.5 million 3 weeks ago.
Good pick.
But then Wolves can't really score in preseason, and he might not be on penalties. So
He's still a
think
good
there's
pick.
better options.
Yep.
He's a good player, but I don't think he's someone you need to pick game week 1 for FPL.
Yeah, is Sar going to play the 10, or is Eze going to come in and push him deeper or push him to the bench? Like, I don't know quite. I think what we've seen in the rumors from the people in the know are that Spurs are looking for other, reinforcements. So I'm not sure
Eze
how
and
long.
Savio set to both
Yeah.
perhaps land at the 3-point lane.
Yeah, very
They're
interesting.
going to be stacked.
I mean,
Yeah.
maybe
They're
It's
being
gonna
serious.
I think it's
I
going to
like
take
it.
a long time for them to get rid of their PTSD from Ange Ball and move into
Maybe.
the new analytically driven era under Frank. But excited to see it for sure. All right,
Guys,
wow.
I think we rated like 15 drafts. We went through our 3 drafts that were boringly similar, but I think that was a great pod. I'm
It feels
jacked
good.
up.
So what are you guys looking forward to in the next couple of days before we get out of here? Are there, any burning questions, any transfers that are kind of pending in the marketplace that would drastically switch up your teams, or you think you guys are about 80-90% there?
I think unless something drastic happens in the transfer window, like someone like Isaac moves to Liverpool, I'm probably like 80% locked. I just have to decide between my option A that I discussed and my option B.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm pretty close as well. I think that depending on what happens with some of the rumors that seem to be pretty close, whether that's, Xavi Simons to Chelsea, whether it's, Savio to Spurs, some of the other moves that are kind of seem like they're about to happen, that might change some of the players that I'm considering. You mentioned that you think Eze becomes less valuable if he moves to Spurs. I disagree with that. I think he becomes a lot more valuable. So there's just players like that I think could break into my consideration that aren't quite there right now. So, I mean, for me, I just think that I'm so psyched for the Premier League to kick off on Friday. I know I'm going to be totally watching with a bowl of popcorn, ready to just go nuts when the first goal ripples the net. And yeah, I think we're going to be back in the fold and back in the swing of things when we have those manager press conferences. We see how many of them are lying to us directly to our face.
These
and
lying
the chaos will
dirtbags.
ensue.
These liars are going to be telling us that Anthony Gordon is not playing, and then he's going to be out there in a boot shooting pens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's
all
Welbeck?
of a sudden he's playing
where's
90
Welbeck?
minutes.
I still want to know Brighton managers. Where's Welbeck? Doesn't show up for game week 38 last year. Oh my God.
Yeah. So lot to be learned. Again, we are the FPL USA Press Play podcast for Bucks and Brian and Black Wolf. We just want to say how grateful we are that Black Wolf is back with us. He's going to be involved a lot more going into this season. And again, our goal here with this podcast is to be fun, to be all about the banter, like you're just hanging out with some of your mates that happen to be obsessed with FPL. And so that's the ethos we're going to bring into each and every episode. So there might be some swears, there might be some bullshit, mostly from me. But again, we want it to be fun and for you to be laughing and also, kind of scribbling some key notes down while you're listening to us here. So again, Black Wolf, why don't you close us out? Everyone wants to hear that sexy voice.
All right, fine. You can follow us. You can follow us on all socials at FPL USA Press Play. You can find Bucks at FPL USA Bucks, Brian at FPL USA Brian, and me at FPL_Black Wolf. And we're all excited for game week 1. And I'm excited to be back on the pod.
That's right, boys. We back.
Green arrows all around.
Green arrows all around. Ain't that the truth? Well, offline, we got to make a co-host bet for game week 1. Let's make sure.
That's right. That's right. All right. We'll catch you next week for our game week 2 preview. Enjoy the matches. The footy is back. The madness, the chaos. It's all ahead of us. We'll see you soon.